mats and everything come in.
She was still on there. I talked to her probably 3 times.
And she's calling me and it's like, I can't help it.
Yeah.
Let's do the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have a few visitors tonight. It doesn't look to me like there's anybody on the 10th sheet, is there, Brenda?
No, sir.
Okay. And there's somebody missing over there, Mr. Midkiff. I think that's where he's been substituting for other people.
So now,
Yeah.
the sergeant's gonna have to do it on the road.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one presentation tonight, and that's KK Matthews. KK is going to talk to us about middle school wrestling.
I think I don't guess I can stand up.
No, we're great.
I was asked by, I think, Mr. Midkiff to come in. I was under the impression that the board had some questions about middle school wrestling. I read in the paper that there was a flyer that went around to the schools at Duval, Hamlin, Guyan Valley, and Harts. And there was a considerable amount of students who were interested in middle school wrestling. And I think one of the reasons for that was, if you remember the first time I came in, we were trying to figure out what the policy was. If we didn't have enough students at one school, if we had very low numbers about, possibly combining those schools just to have one team. But it's my understanding after talking to Mr. Midkiff with some email exchanges that there's a lot of interest at maybe Duval, Hamlin. There's a lot of interest at Guyan Valley, and from what I understand, at Harts Creek as well.
That's our understanding, too, that all the schools are from the survey.
So what I wanted to do is, I think the way we left it the last time, if I'm right, you can correct me if I'm right or wrong, is that we were trying to find out how much this would cost per school, okay? And I've kind of consulted the professionals, and they're here. Talking to Coach Smith, Coach Smith is under the impression that if you want to get a regulation wrestling mat, a 40 by 42 mat, it would cost around $4,500. And basically that's, I'm sure there's some other things that the wrestling programs would acquire along the way, maybe throwing dummies or maybe, I don't really know of anything else, maybe some ropes to climb, different things. But along the way, it's not anything that you would have to have as your initial startup cost. But I think that's possibly what you'd be
Well, your
looking at.
basically startup cost would be the mats, and these are the Resolite featherweight, and what they're real small, and you could go one up by yourself and move it. Those run about $6,500. We bought 5 in the league, and they cut us a break for $4,500. You have 14 children on the team, which we incur a cost of a singlet, $50 to $75, and if you want to put a pair of sweatpants on, they're responsible for their own shoes.
Roger, how large, do you need more than one mat? Or how does that work?
Well, a 40, that's a regulation mat. In junior high, they're actually smaller.
What size is that
In a 40 by 40. And you can go online and you can talk to Resolite yourself. You can give me and Darren Gilfin from the Mountain State League, and if anyone else wants to do it, they'll cut us that deal for $45. Those are regulation high school and junior high, so it would be doing everybody a favor. Revenue that can be generated from that is right now we only have two mats in the high school, and they weren't taken care of real well, and they're in pretty good condition for now, but you're going to have to replace those sooner or later. But with the buying of the 4 new mats, we could run 10, 20 teams in the high school one time a year at $150 to $200 a head. That's what we charge for our tournaments, which generates a lot of money, you know, that we can kick back in once we had the match, you know, to actually put on the production. What holds us up now is everybody likes to come and wrestle with us because we have great hospitality, and I always, every year, I have my own pocket, I give out first, second, and third team trophies and individual trophies that are really nice. They're the guillotine type with statues. So it's really a knockdown drag out to see who wins that trophy every year. But like I said, that would help us the whole program. But for initially for your junior high program, I would say you would probably be in the neighborhood if they could get us down there $4,500 for those mats. You're looking at probably $1,500, $1,700 to outfit the kids. Your coaches. Jamie's already a coach. He went WVSSAC. If he had, we have another coach, two other boys who could help a teacher coach that went to the Nationals in Fargo that I've worked with in West Virginia, took them out there. They're very experienced for that caliber of wrestling down that low. The problem that we run into, guys, is this, and it helps with our football team and everything else, is we teach a combative training in wrestling. Much different than they do on football and everything else. And it's really grueling. And the guys that make it are really strong. But it teaches kids agility. We start at 4 years old to 12 years old in the league. And the KK's boys are exceptionally well. We have a good bunch of kids coming underneath, but they have nowhere to go after they're 12 years old, so they got a 2-year lapse, but they do nothing. You know?
You're talking about an independent wrestling league?
That's somebody.
No, that's the Mountain State League, is right, as for the Pee-wees. But what it entails is this: every major high school in this state has their own Pee-wee team, and basically their only junior high team. So when we get a kid from Lincoln County, when I get him every year, he's like a 4-year-old baby, just learning to wrestle. And it takes years to learn to wrestle, I'm telling you. So by the time he's had 4 years experience, he's up against kids with 12, 13 years experience, no matter where he goes in the state. And we've been putting kids in the state every year for the last 3 or 4 years. We've managed to scrape one in, but we've never had a place for yet. I have 3, I'm pretty sure it's going to go in again this year. But the underneath team would help us tremendously. The junior high school team would put it over the top. And you would have a bunch of kids that are agile, big and strong, you know, the ones that stayed. I mean, KK could tell you, I mean, those kids come out of there bears.
Now, when you're talking about as far as condition and strength and all, do they have to have some type of weight program, or is this just?
Well, now, the junior high boys, we don't do so much weight, as I know so much of the physical stuff, like, you know, that's just body conducive, or, you know, they don't need weights, you know, not too much in a junior high setting like that. The sooner you could, the better, but it would be a cost that we'd have to, you know, incur right away.
Some of those.
What we're looking at is just a basic, bare bones startup, is just get them a mat and get them some uniforms and say, hey, I'm from, you know.
Learning techniques and things like
Right, create that rivalry in your county like you used to have with the old football teams, and then put it all to one entity into the high school.
Now, where you're talking about the mats, are you talking about a mat for each junior high school, or just, will it be one place?
It would probably be
Here?
for each junior high school, and the reason for that is because,
There's so many.
yeah, there's some, you know, you have Duval, you have Hamlin, Guyan Valley, Hearts, and they would need their own mat for the, you know, the number of kids that they're gonna serve.
And $1,700, is that for, like, how many kids? For
But you can outfit, that's what it ran us last year, to get a singlet, that's what they wrestle in, and to get a pair of shorts, and to get a warm-up jacket and warm-up pants
For how many kids?
for 14.
14. They used to.
We'll have insurance, right?
They will,
It's covered through the school.
if it's through the school, I'm sure that they would have, it would be,
They would have the athletic insurance.
yeah, they would have athletic
Is that
insurance.
effective?
Yeah, but I think they pretty much just do a blanket on all the athletic things. And that's covered through the student activities money. And while I'm speaking, that would be something that we would probably want to speak with the schools to see if they would want to use some of their student activities money, because they always have some carryover. If they would want to do some of that to buy these mats, if you guys are in the notion to look into it.
Now, in the league, every year, I bring a carrier to the school, I bring an insurance to the school that covers all the league children. Of course, they let the league children come in the room after 6 and practice. They're completely covered. We have, to, from, in and out, all the way around, so the little guys are protected too, and we do that ourselves.
Bertie, are you saying that, or suggesting that they might use some of their school monies to pay for these?
Yes, for the mats. Because that, the student activities, and that, of course, that's part of our levy, we're getting ready to vote on here shortly. But we set some of that money aside to help with some of our sports programs. And might want to approach the principals and, they can maybe kick in a little bit.
We just got a printout of what they have not long ago. I think they can help.
Yeah, and I'm sure, because, because everybody's so concerned about children getting physically fit, and I just think it's a great program to help these kids.
And this,
The coach salary, does anybody recall what that is?
Not so much.
I make $2,000 and Dana and I split that.
I mean, we have a salary schedule.
We don't.
Okay.
We did do for junior, the middle school. I don't think we had a wrestling. We have established.
Yeah, yeah.
but it would be important, just like with what Coach Smith was saying, because I think one of the things that we're going to run into if this works is that whenever you get those Featherlight mats, that's kind of the mat that you want to get so you can roll it up.
Well, that's
Those
what I was-
other mats
Or you
are,
could store these, I mean, they'd be easily.
oh yeah, you
yeah.
can roll them up. I mean, little kids can roll them up. Now you see
If you had
it.
to- excuse me.
Go ahead.
If you had to set up in the gym, which we probably do, so you got a place, those roll out so quick and they get out of the way so quick, if you're going to practice basketball or something. That's a real good thing it does, because kids are old men like big men. So.
And then if you're gonna do a tournament at the high school, you would transport them to the high school.
Right, yeah, exactly right. See, that would be 6 mats, and I have a smaller one, would be 7 mats, and we could, they run over to Nitro, they run 30, 35 teams, with their 2 gyms, 6 or 7 mats. So, it's possible you can run 30, 35 teams in there with $150, $200, entry fee. It's just, they do that at Point Pleasant every year. The only thing, like I said, it's held us back is, really was no interest to it. You just kept pushing and kept pushing and kept pushing. Well, it seems to be a lot of interest now.
They see it happening, just like
Right.
anything.
Right, it's,
What, the seasons, what's the season for wrestling?
what, there is no season really. The season starts for high school, I should say that. It'll start the middle of October, and we are allowed to have our first match, last week of October, November, the first week of December. This year, our first match will be able to have the 30th of November.
Well, because you mentioned something there, caught my attention, was basketball. And if they're going to have, use the gyms, I'm assuming, thinking of the scheduling issue, how that might be done.
That's the biggest thing that they have, where you don't have the facilities like that you have in basketball that you do run in. In junior high, you don't need a, if it could be, we could work that out. We don't really need a 2-hour practice so much as we would in like a high school setting. If we could just get the basics that we want in those boys in junior high, you wouldn't have to tie up the gym if somebody had to do it within an hour and 15 minutes. If we get an hour and a half, that's fine. If we get at least a solid hour a day, for the junior high, they don't really need, the really grueling stuff like they do in the high school.
Well, it's just that typically, after school, that's when everybody's going to practice. Because they
Right.
obviously
Right.
do whatever they're going to do, so they can go on home.
That would be the only rub, in the other junior high schools that don't have a different facility or place to put the mat in.
Because see, it's gotten even more complicated. You have both girls and boys basketball, for instance.
Right.
They're
Right.
competing for the games.
Exactly.
too.
There's a lot of sports and not enough room.
Yeah.
Well, what we originally, like KK had said, we figured we'd just have enough for one team, and we was gonna try to just go ahead and bring everybody there together and let the junior high coach have part of it, just teach some junior high stuff. But, since it was such an interest, it could be something, I've never seen, I'm speaking of experience. I've never seen a county that didn't have wrestling and things like that, or football teams or basketball teams. it's just an agility thing, guys, and it's, you know, that's what we're missing in a lot of our sports, and I'm not knocking nobody, but a lot of our sports, we need a lot of agility and a lot of late game conditioning, and it's, you know, it's,
Wrestling used to be big at Guy Valley. I mean, we had a big wrestling team there. I don't know
well,
what happened to
you
it.
go down to Huntington, and I'm telling you, they walk around with the elite logo on their shirts, and I'm telling you, I got chills on me now. I'm so proud of myself. We take kids down there, and they put like there's 14 kids. We're the guy that knocks their 14th guy out to keep them putting 14 in the state. Little old Lincoln County, you know, and our kids don't have nothing. They came to me, of course, I wrestled with Mr. Archer, Robbie's daddy. We went to the state together the same year. And they come to me and said, man, we don't know how in the world you do that. Those kids don't have no experience. How can you beat that kid like that? I've never seen leg guys. But, you know, it's just like when Gay gave all these kids to me. We can win now and pick up basics later, but we can get beat and take basics. So, kind of, you know, you can do about anything. We're well respected in the county. I mean, in Allen County. I've taken boys to Fargo, to Battle Creek. I mean, we've taken them all over the country. They've done exceptionally well.
Jeff, of course, he's the one that KK had been talking to, but, you know, we saw the numbers of potential members, I guess. Probably a lot of that would not be as quite as great when it got right down to it.
I just want to point out the number in the paper for Hamlin was wrong. It was actually about double what they put in there. I don't know how it got misinterpreted there, but I was there before. I just wanted
Okay, we
That
appreciate
is
it.
all.
All I'm saying is, oftentimes though, a lot of people will say, hey, I want to do that, but when it gets time to go out there, you know, maybe it'll still be enough to warrant doing it, but it may not be the greatest numbers as we see sometimes. But what Jeff, Mr. Mickey told us is, you know, that what he found out, like what KK said earlier, was that based upon the interest award at the school, that would decide whether or not you could have independent, each school had to go on its own, or if there wasn't that great of interest, then you could possibly merge. So I think we really be kind of speculating on how that would work. We don't really know. It could be that there could be a merging of teams, or they could each stand on their own. Be popular. Now, the matches, how often do they have matches?
You're allowed 18 weigh-ins a year, all right? If you wrestle five teams or less, that counts as one. Anything over 5 teams counts as 2 weigh-ins. So every year I can have 18 weigh-ins. In junior high school, I think it's 17. I've got this stuff, I don't know too much in
Just because I know about everyone else here, a lot of this is kind of,
Yeah.
I know
It's
the basics of it, but how often you do these things, I'm not.
It's 18 weigh-ins a year is what we can have. Like I said, the tournaments count as 2. And we usually have about 9 to 11 meets, depending on how we schedule. Like if we break down and have a single point, like have a quad, 4 teams, you know, something like that, we do that.
What would happen with each school, like Guy and Brown, for instance, would they have their own
They could
matches,
possibly
meets at
have
their
their
school, or
Well,
was
what
it
the-
be a countywide thing?
Milton would come down, or you got Beverly Hills, you got East and West up there, they got teams. I mean, it's loaded. I mean, you have no problem getting people to come wrestle with you.
So you envision, or could envision Guy and Valley or Hammond having their own
Tournaments?
places, people come from other localities?
Oh, yeah. Shady Springs, I mean, they come from everywhere. I mean,
You have Harts and you have Guyan Valley, Duval, and Hamlin. And you could put one meet on at Guyan Valley and you can have 3 other schools.
yeah, you got
there.
Hoover, you got, I mean,
And then you can have John Adams.
John Adams,
Bergen, Petersburg, Bergen.
Well, that way the school would make money off of it too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'd make
It's wrestling, once you get a wrestling established, it's big business, because once people see, and when you create a county rivalry, you know, it's better than football really in a lot of ways, because you really see some good butt kickers, you know, and those kids are aggressive like I'm, so that's just
Legal
what it
ones
is.
do, huh?
Yeah, legal, and guys, hey, let me tell you, it'll help your system, it helps your wild children in school here, I promise you, the last stop and start for me. I mean, we've took kids that are, most of the kids we get are just outlaws.
Except my kids.
We've changed a lot.
Mine's good. Mine's good.
We change a lot of their attitudes. We don't get them all, I promise you, we don't get them all. We change a lot of their attitudes because we give them something, you know, that makes you know you're a man, but you don't have to go to school and, you know, raise Cain, beat up the teachers and kill the kids, you know in your heart, you know that you are.
Well,
And that's
I know there's one youngster I recall who was a student at Riversville when I was principal there that I know KK knows him and he conversed with me on Facebook and all, but he really was in, you know, it surprised him because all he talked about wrestling, you know. He was gonna make his grades and do what he had to do so he could wrestle. And I think we all need an incentive every now and then, that's what it was. But, well, anybody have any other questions?
I wonder if we decide to do this, are we gonna start it, try to get it underway this year, or plan on next year, since it's late?
Well, really, no. I don't, how long does it take to get the max? 6 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I mean, the season they haven't even started yet. So if you wanted to make a decision in the next couple of board meetings, I mean, you would have plenty of time to have the season. I mean, to have the events, have the teams.
You think we'd have trouble getting coaches that know wrestling, that know?
Dwayne Hicks coaches at, they're not coaches, but just hired in Ranger. He's volunteered to come help us. Roger hasn't met him yet. He's out of town. I think he would probably be willing to jump on that. There are a few people on, Jamie here.
Jamie.
We just put him through coaching classes. He went and took all the classes. We were hoping to get him in middle school somewhere. There are people that are interested in this.
So you're needing about $8,000 per school, $32,000, and you'll work with us, make it a reality.
I think that's really possible. And guys, if worse comes to worse, your high school, the match that you do put the money in, say all your teams go bust and you don't get it, we can still put on 1 or 2 events at the high school every year and draw those kind of people in every year. I mean, we can still, it's a no loss situation if someone keeps the program that we've got started.
Well, if there wasn't that much interest, which hopefully we still have, then we can go back to the idea there that you maybe could merge some of them.
And something you might want to consider too is really to go around to the schools and before you really decide it and say, look, now, do you really want this here? Because it's, you know, we will throw down a lot of money for you. We don't, you know, if you're not going to come out and wrestle with us, we don't want to do this. And I think
I
get
agree
to the
with
serious
that.
people, because if you have 30 show up, you usually have 12 to 15 that'll stay.
Well, that's what I was,
Yeah.
I was talking to Miss Lucas about there just a moment ago. And she can, I don't know if she'll have Mr. Big Kipper who can coordinate, but that's what we need to do, is to go to each school and you know, have some discussions with them, see who's really interested, see if the school's willing to utilize some of their monies that they have to help fund it, some of those kind of things. And then I think after that occurred, then we would know, because like Ms. Luke pointed out there to me, it'll take a while for us to advertise a position for a coach.
Right.
And right now, we haven't even established that. So
Right.
we, first of all, would have to establish that we're going to pay a middle school coach X amount of dollars, then we can advertise the jobs once we knew there was interest.
Right.
And we could do it that way. But I think what we'll have to do is, she can decide who she wants to be the front person with each school and try to find out those kind of things. Mr. Baker?
I think a great person at each school to talk to would be the football coach at each school, whoever's currently hired or planning on coaching next year at each middle school, because they will be receiving a great benefit from it. Just maybe ask them if they have an interest in pushing their football players to go into wrestling, because they're 2 separate seasons. I don't think that might help you gauge your numbers, because if the football coach pushes for it, the kids are more likely to do it. That might be just a good way to gauge numbers and maybe help you out a little more.
Yeah, that's why we need
Help out all
to,
our football programs.
that's why somebody needs to go and actually, have some discussions. Although you may have the basketball coach trying to discourage you. I don't know.
Derek Surratt come to me and told me all of his boys were going to wrestle whether they were on the team or not. So, he knows about how they go hand in hand.
Can they play basketball and wrestle too?
There's no law against it, though.
Well, I know there's no law against it, but I mean,
Yeah, wrestling is one of the only sports that's still unsanctioned. It's really not sanctioned, other than just, our period of time, we can
I
practice.
mean, in other words, it'd be left up to the two coaches.
Right, exactly, right. See, we had 106, we had a little Levi Legowski, we wanted him bad for a little lightweight, but I knew it would have been us having him get hurt. And contrary to what everybody thinks, guys, we don't have, the injuries that we get in wrestling are minimal. I've been there 8 years, and we've had one or two little incidents in the room, and that's when the kid wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. But nothing serious. They try to tell you that your knees are low. No, you don't get a lot of that because you're conditioned to it. They won't let you wrestle with braces on your knees, so you can't be hurt wrestling. That's one of the good things.
And you wear,
They're real strict. You have the headgear, you have all that stuff.
more
If anybody have any other questions about it, well, why don't you let us look into it, try to find out from each individual school, what the interest actually is, those kind of things, what, if they're willing to sponsor to some degree anyway, and that'll give us an idea of how much we might have to obligate, and then we'll kind of show it from there.
And something else that we'll be able to do, and along those lines, if you do the 4 schools, we could probably cut way down on ordering a whole bunch of singlets at the same time for 4 different schools. So
Well,
we'll get ready to work that. I'll give you all the numbers. I got all kinds of books and everything. So.
You mentioned headgear, is that in addition to the,
most of the time, with your headgear,
how much?
that would be with the singlets. They're
That
not
comes
very
with it?
expensive.
That
No,
comes-
they're about $30.
What happens?
But you can use, you can use your headgear. I mean, you can share headgear with someone else. It's just to protect your ears so you don't get caught.
On the page.
And when you go to open meets, you don't even have to wear the headgear. They'll have the kids in high school and junior high, you have to wear the headgear, but when you go to the league, you'll know the term, you don't have to wear it.
It's on it's on you if you want to wear it or if you don't want to.
But in high school, it's required, so that's.
And it would be required in junior high.
Right.
Well, hopefully we'll get the opportunity to learn more about the sport of wrestling.
Well, I hope they do. I'm 65, and I told them, I said, I hope somebody gets loving this. I don't know how long the Lord's got me here, but as long as He is, I'll put out what I know.
We appreciate all you do.
I'll be willing to help you do anything. Basically, when you get around the junior high coaches, they have to teach these boys personal hygiene, and a lot. It's a junior high coach needs to have a little special, different teaching than a high school coach. Of course, you got to calm them down when they're in high school. When they're in junior high school, they don't know what to do. So, as far as keeping cleaning their bodies and stuff like that, you folks know your teachers, so it's at a certain age they have to be taught certain things. So.
True of everything.
Right, me too, that's right.
Thank you.
Once we find out more, we may come back, and seek some information from you, help as far as any materials we need.
Any corner we can cut, I'll help you. I already have, if we was to run 60 teams over there, I have the software to already do it with. The first, all those years I was here, what we did, I want to clear it with everybody, just while I'm here. I had a group of people out there, like I said, I just came in. We have guys like who are movie stars and everything at the meeting there. I'm just going on. But those guys, they gave me 5 years, and they helped me run this program over there for 5 years, and we ran it out of our pockets to try to get an interest started because we knew how hard it was to get. This is a hard sport to get off the ground because it's everybody, and it's in every school. It's just it seems like it's in the way, but it really helps if you let it work.
Well, I know
It
how
does
you've
help.
done, even when you were still down in White's Plaza, you guys worked down there, and for those that don't know much of that, Roger financed himself.
There was a crew of guys that helped me. There was guys that in our business, and they do that. Like Ric Flair's got a team, Dusty Rhodes has got a team, but they'll sponsor all over the North Carolina, wherever they are, Florida, they'll sponsor teams like that. Sometimes a guy like me with personality, like the schools that like to stick my stuff on YouTube still, just me, I've got a little drawing power yet, I can still get some things done if I have to. So.
Even I've heard of Dusty Rhodes.
They said their thing that they said that I had so many aliases they couldn't keep up with it.
Well,
I think I did about 19 different gimmicks in the business.
appreciate y'all coming.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Be in touch.